Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gashanja, and now we're shifting gears to actually address the youth unemployment rates here in the country. So a lot has been said about the same and the causes of the same, but let's focus on the solutions, because there are many that are happening, and perhaps it's good to actually just highlight on what's happening on the ground. And one of those solutions is being represented here by Eddie Olo, who is a technical advisor at the GIZ and E4D. You'll be finding out what those acronyms stand for in a moment. Stephen Cadeño, who is the Executive Director at Pamoja for Transformation, and Kipto Cheruyot Bonson, who is an owner of a saloon business. Thank you, gentlemen, for joining us this morning. And Eddie, even as I said, we'll understand the acronyms a little bit better. Let's first understand what MTVET is, because we'll be hearing a lot of that as we continue with this conversation. What does that mean?
Thank you, Gladys, and thanks for having me in this meeting today. So MTVET basically refers to modularized technical vocational and training. It is modularized in the sense that the government is currently working towards moving from the conventional TVET trainings to the competency-based education and training system. This means that the system is changing, and we're no longer going to have like summative assessments. So people will be assessed based on modules. Mm-hmm. So for example, in a welding course, it can go up to 6 modules. Then the assessment will be based on modules. You finish module 1, you assessed, then you go to the industry, get some experience, come back to the school. So basically, that is what we mean by modularized training. MTVET, modularized technical vocational education and training system.
All right, so now we've mentioned E4D, Education for Development. This is the project that is driving this initiative. Tell us more.
Yes, E4D is in full is Employment and Skills for Development in Africa, shortened E4D. Okay. So the program started way back in 2015. Mm-hmm. It's an employment promotion program, and the idea was that it's meant to help sort out the issues of unemployment through skilling youths, giving them the right skills, the market-driven skills that can lead them to get employment opportunities in the job market, especially working with closely with the companies. So the program has been working in Kenya for some times now, as I mentioned, 2015, and we are looking at probably working in curriculum reforms, changing from the conventional TVET trainings to the competency-based education and training, a work that we've done, and some curriculums have been developed, working closely with the private sector and the government. Mm-hmm. The program is funded by the German government mainly, but we're also getting a lot of funding from the Norwegians through NORAD. We're also getting funding from private sector companies in Kenya, like KCB Foundation. We're getting funding from KOICA. We're also getting funding from other corporate partners. DFID contributed. So it's a program that is funded by a broad spectrum of people with the common vision to support youths to get into employment. Mm-hmm. Yes. Okay, and you represent GIZ. What does GIZ stand for? Yes, so GIZ is an implementing arm of the German government. So we're actually implementing projects on behalf of the German government. So in Kenya, we work closely with the German Development Corporation, who in a bigger sense is representing our funders. So we work with them to implement projects on behalf of the German government. Mm-hmm. Yes. All right, so now let's really tell us more about this cooperation. You speak about Germany and Korea in the E4D project. Gladys, this is an interesting question. Huh? The cooperation between Germany and Korea started way back in the 60s. So Germany and Korea have strong economic ties. They also have intense cooperation arrangements in education, science and technology. And the whole thing is that they are looking at improving employment situation through vocational training. We all know that employment is a big challenge worldwide, and Kenya in particular, because we churn out a lot of graduates to the job market. They are not getting the job, so we need to do something. So based on this, then the German and Koreans share a common interest to support the youth, improve their employability through technical vocational education and training. So again, from the Korean perspective, they worked globally. I know they are doing a lot of work in Mongolia, for example. And this has led to changing of TVET system, systematic changes in the TVET system, and has led to improved employment situation for the youth. So based on this, and the long-standing historical experience of the Germans on vocational training, the two organizations cooperated, formed a cooperation, signed a cooperation agreement to continue supporting the youths of Kenya through vocational training to acquire the much needed skills to allow them get roles in the industry. Yeah, so the cooperation was signed a few months ago, and we are looking at basically increasing employability of the young person in Kenya through skills development, enterprise development, and matching them, bringing them from the training institutions to the job market.
And now that we understand the objective of the E4D project, Stephen Kadenyo, you represent Pamoja for Transformation. So what is it that you do?
Thank you so much, Gladys, also for hosting us on this particular show. Yeah, like Eddie has mentioned, the project is implemented on partnership, so we are also a partner at a different level. So we are a downstream partner. What that means is we directly implement the project within the TVET institutions. Currently, Pamoja is implementing a project within the E4D called Skills for Jobs, which is implemented in 5 vocational training centers in Kisumu counties, and this is Ahero, Mariwa, Akado, YMCA, and the NITA, the National Industrial Training Authority in Kisumu. So the same project basically builds onto the E4D at a county level, where we are aiming at training about 1,700 trainees from different trade tests. These are basically grade test 3, which are modularized, like he said, for 3 months. So there are modules that have been developed for them for 3 months on different grade test levels. And besides the technical training that they receive from the centers, Pamoja provides soft skills work readiness, so that they have a better opportunity of understanding what is expected of them in the job market. And of course, from their trainings, from their trade tests, they going to get into different job spaces. So we expose them to what the kind of diversities that are within those different workspaces. But also we take them through business, financial management, and entrepreneurship management trainings, because not all of them are likely to get to employment, but some of them would probably want to be self-employed. So that still is also employment, and so it is important to help them to understand how to manage themselves as managers of their enterprises, how to manage employees if they become employers. Yeah, so this is part of that, and we also link them. And so, like Eddie mentioned, the partnership between the government, private sector. We also post-training, we hope to link them with different industries that are in line with their different trade tests. Yeah, so that initially they can be on industrial attachment, but potentially that they could also be absorbed, as potential employees within that. Yeah.
Now, you mentioned potential business owners. Kipto is one such business owner. Tell us where you're from, how you got into the project as they have described it.
Thank you, Gladys, for hosting us in this show. I'm Kipto Cheriot Bonso. I do come from Kericho County, a division called Sigawet. Yeah. I started schooling in the year 2004. Then did my KCPE in 2018, then enrolled to Form 1 in a school called Kabartega in the year 2014, and then graduated my Form 4 course in the year 2018. So this is when I did TAMAC. Initially, my family is not good financially. So I learned the program sponsored by the GIZ through a friend who had benefited earlier with it, who had did hospitality. Yeah. He then referred to me the center he was training at, that is when I had to be more and to be enthusiastic yeah, in the field. So this is when I was introduced to the beauty therapy course. Yeah.
Okay, so when you finished school, wazazi hawangeweza kukupeleka? Is it campus?
Yeah.
So at that point, ulikuwa unataka kufanya nini wakati huo?
At that time, I was to join a TVET institution, but my two other siblings was in the university, and my dad is just a subordinate staff in an high school, so he isn't able to pay the school fees.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So today you are a business owner. Did you go into the beauty industry because this is what you wanted to do, or that was the opportunity that was?
I did pursue beauty because it's been my passion since I was in primary school.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we talk about youth and employment. How long did you hustle for before you got the opportunity?
I did a mark the year 2018. Then Corona came. Then I had the course offered in November. That is when I enrolled.
Okay. All right. So even listening to the recipients, it says a lot about how the importance of a vocational training translates to empowerment. So is there a specific approach that the corporation, perhaps, Edwin, is bringing to the table that complements current vocational training in his case?
Thank you. So maybe just to add something on what he said, it's interesting to hear like him joining beauty therapy as a course and trying to set up a business in that line.
Yeah.
No, this is breaking away from gender stereotyping. That course is mainly meant for women.
Yeah.
So as you'll see in our discussion, we're also doing something similar, trying to bring a lot of women to the technical science, technology, and engineering courses. And that is one thing that we are proud of as E4D, because we are looking at employment from all spectrum. We are taking inclusivity into a serious consideration, as well as supporting the youth. So, back to your question, in terms of the approaches that we are looking at, I mentioned the integrated employment promotion approach of E4D. This means that we are looking at employment from full spectrum, from training in the training institutions, that is the demand side of labor, to the supply side of labor, where we are working closely with the companies and supporting SMEs so that they become better suppliers of goods and services. The idea is that after he gets the training, acquires the skills, then we need to bring them to the company. This means that there must be an opportunity in this company, so that opportunity must be created. So that is why we work very closely with these companies to create the opportunities for the youth. So we are mainly bringing in the idea of that integrated employment promotion approach, from the skills supply side of labor to matching to the demand side of labor. So that is one thing that we are bringing on board. Secondly, we are looking at complementing the government's efforts. As I mentioned earlier, the Kenyan government is in a paradigm shift from traditional TVET systems, the conventional TVET systems, to competency-based education and training. This requires a lot of participation from the companies, because finally, remember, when graduates get out from the training institutions, they need to get somewhere in the companies. The companies know what they expect from the training institution. So for a long time, this has been the gap missing. The companies are on their own cocoons, and the training institutions are working on their own. So we are trying to bridge that gap to get a dialogue going on between the companies and the training institutions in terms of information exchange, so that we can get the right skills coming out. Another thing that I would want to mention, Stephen mentioned it, the benefit of soft skills and work readiness training. We get a lot of feedback from the industry, the companies, that you can be a technically qualified welder, for example, but if you don't know how to interact with others, if you don't know how to build a team, if you don't know how to manage your anger, then I, as an employer, not be comfortable employing you, because you get me more problems than the benefit that I'm getting from you. So at the end of the day, we need that holistic person, technically competent and socially sound. So that is another thing that we are bringing on board. And lastly, I mentioned the dialogue between the private sector company. We believe that this is the key thing for competency-based education and training to work. Then the industry must get involved. It is no longer going to be business as usual, where the training institutions are training for the industry. We want them to train with the industry by closely engaging the industry partners.
Okay, so for us to get those who are beneficiaries on board, there has to be a sourcing mechanism. Stephen, how are you doing this to ensure that you get these candidates?
Yeah, thanks. Of course, in order for us to be able to get the beneficiaries on board, we have a selection criteria, and there are multiple. Most of them include, some of them include having them to submit the applications through different media. We have the application information uploaded on our website. We also have some of these application forms and the same information within these training centers, and so any interested trainee can be able to apply from there. And the partnership also goes down to the local authorities. So we have also engaged the county governments. So the county ward administrators, the chiefs, their offices are also avenues through which we provide some of these leaves, including even churches, so that as many people as possible can be able to access the information. And if you listen to Kipto's story, most of the beneficiaries are young people who would almost be hopeless, especially because they were not able to have opportunities to advance their education. And they would mostly be sitting back in the villages or in the informal settlements, having no idea. And the reason why we take this application, we make these applications accessible into some of these spaces for them. And so, of course, also in our offices, we have the same people can come pick the forms and we guide them on how to apply, then they're submitted. And we do that because it is important that they fulfill the National Industrial Training Authority requirements for registration and also preparation for the grade test. And so that's how we manage the application process.
Stephen, before I take a break, you had mentioned that you're within the western part of this country. Are you only there, or are you spreading your wings?
Definitely we are, and as an organization we have multiple projects. Because we have three major programs. So we have a program on peace and governance, which is largely targeting influencing policy and also addressing physical conflict management. And we have those kind of projects in western part of the country, at the coast in Nairobi, and also in the northern part, largely Samburu, Turkana, where we also implemented some of those projects. So currently with the Skills for Jobs project is being implemented in Kisumu, but there are potentials for us to expand beyond Kisumu. We're actually also starting another project that is covering another 5 counties, similar to that, not in the TVET, but on skills and enterprise development, which will be covering another five counties, including Turkana, Nakuru, Migori, and of course Nairobi. And as well as the coast, we also have other projects. Okay,
so Eddie, are we in other parts of this country?
Exactly. We are working in different counties as IFOD. We're working now together with Koika in Kenya. So we are spread across the country, I can say, because we are working in Lamu County, Kilifi, Mombasa, Kwale, and the kind of trainings that we are supporting there are short-term trainings according to the Kenya National Qualifications Authority Level 3. What that means is that there are short courses running for 3 months in the training institution, then additional 3 months practice in the industry. So that is along the coast, and similar to what we are doing with Stephen in Kisumu. Additionally, we are also in Nairobi working very closely with the institutions like St. Kizito, which I think is having a very interesting model, worth scaling up to other institutions, the idea of production centers. So this is what we are trying to pick from them and trying to scale it up in other regions. They actually produce furniture and sell to the public. I wish you could go there and look at what they are doing. They are doing an interesting job. So apart from that, then we are also in Nyeri County, closely partnering with the county government and Nyeri National Polytechnic to deliver Kenya National Qualifications Authority Level 4 trainings. These are courses that are running for 6 months. and also in Nyeri County, where we also working, cooperating closely with the county government and Nyeri National Polytechnic. Lastly, we also in Mombasa County, working very closely with Technical University of Mombasa and the private sector companies around that region to just make sure that youths get the right skills and actually transition from learning to earning.
Okay.
Apart from that, we also work very closely with the different county governments in the regions I've mentioned. We recently, through Pamoja for Transformation, we had an MOU with Kisumu County. We are looking at MOUs on how the county governments can really support vocational training through training consumables, through supporting vulnerable youths to access this kind of training. We all know that vocational training through youth polytechnics was devolved to counties. So we have to mobilize resources through them just to see that the vulnerable youths from this country actually get skills or start SMEs that can really support them improve their livelihood opportunities.
Okay, so on that note, we'll take a short break here on Your World. When we come back, Eddie, you had mentioned that you are really focusing on ensuring that you bring a lot more of the women on board. A third actually is the number that you're looking at, ensuring that you can actually make up for the women that are involved in this project. How can that be achieved? How is that being achieved? We'll find out in a moment. Stay with us.
Thank you.
Upgrade today and save 50%. Pay 2 months and get 2 months of a higher bouquet. Star Times, your best choice for family entertainment this Christmas.
TB ina tiba. Pata matibabu bila malipo katika hospitali zote za umma. Tujijali, tumalize TB. Ujumbe huu umeletwa kwako na Wizara ya Afya na washirika wake.
To be a champion, it's much more than just to be a number one.
Personally, I am a believer. It's important to plan and prepare well.
But then we didn't have the facilities.
Because you can't have a sport tournament of any description without proper organization.
And we'll continue to be involved as part of transforming lives.
For an exclusive fragrance experience, try Nivea Men Deep Impact Body Lotion with a long-lasting woody fragrance, deep moisture, and a fresh skin feel. Make an impact with Nivea Men Deep Impact. Nivea Men, it starts with you.
The International Center for Research on Women, ICRW, is currently implementing a project that seeks to assess the policy impact of COVID-19 on informal women workers. Evidence generated through this project demonstrates that women comprise approximately 85% of the labor force in Kenya and Uganda. However, the COVID-19 response measures in both countries have increased vulnerability of the women in the informal sector to loss of livelihoods, gender-based violence, increased burden of domestic work, and unpaid care. This situation calls for deliberate measures necessary to cushion the women in this sector from more harm. Through the Nation Leadership Forum, the International Center for Research on Women will facilitate a dialogue on the gendered impacts of COVID-19 in the informal sector. Catch this forum live on NTV on Thursday, 9th December from 7:30 p.m. to 9 p.m.
At KMC, nyama sio nyama tu. You'll get our products at KMC Nyama Haven outlets in Athi River, Land Hills Road, and soon coming to you, Mombasa. Nyama ni ya KMC, a cut above the best.
Thank you for staying with Your World. My name is Gladys Gashanja. At this point, we're talking about how to promote youth employment through modularized technical vocational training and education. And this is actually abbreviated as MTVET. And as we've had, GIZ and E4D are ensuring that this becomes a reality in this country. Ediolo is the technical advisor representing GIZ and E4D. Stephen Cadeño, who is the executive director, Pamoja for Transformation. And Kipto Cheriot Bonson, who is actually a salon business owner. Thank you all for being part of this conversation and giving us more light about this, because I believe there are many who are now believing there is light at the end of a tunnel. Let me start off with Kipto. You said you trained in beauty and the business has been going on for how long now?
It's nearly 6 months.
6 months.
Yeah.
How is the experience so far?
It's thriving. Yeah.
All right. And how did your skill sets, the ones you acquired, come through for you now in the real world with your own business?
This happened when I did go to the industrial attachment. Yeah.
Okay, so what exactly did you learn that helped you now put up your business and now it's thriving 6 months later?
We were in school, we were taught of life skills for the first 8 days. We enrolled in the school, then entrepreneurship skills, then the main course now, which is physiotherapy and hairdressing. Yeah.
Have you employed anyone so far?
Yeah, I got one employee.
So now you're an employer in this our country. Well done, well done.
Thank you.
So how is the experience running this business, considering that now you have a skill set that is actually giving you or empowering you, so to speak?
Owning a business is inakupea moyo. Yeah. So being a entrepreneur, it gives me hope that someday, somewhere, I'd be in global. Yeah.
All right. And you talked about your family wanting to give you more opportunities, but they were not in a position to. But today, you're the one now who's standing on your own 2 feet. What do they have to say about this opportunity?
They are really happy about it. Yeah. Because I can buy some few stuffs to support the household. Yeah.
Do you have any other siblings that come after you?
Yeah. I got a sister who is in Form 4 as of now. Yeah.
And is this looking like a possibility also, in case they don't move on to the university level?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and it's encouraging to just hear those that are recipients of this project saying there is life beyond what they thought was unemployment for life, because that has been very perennial in this country. Let me understand from Stephen, when you meet such young, brilliant minds and allow them to give them the opportunity to get these skill sets, what has the feedback been?
Actually, the feedback we get from the trainees is very fulfilling, and some of them also very touching, because a big number of them are people who had become hopeless in terms of advancing their careers. And also for some, there's also a very negative, there's a stereotype towards the TVET, even in the job market. Most of them are not recognized as qualified people. And it's a problem that we even have with the county. You know, constitutionally, there is a 30% of tenders that is supposed to be going to the young people. But the counties will tell you these young people are not qualified. Somebody could be a very good mechanic, a very good carpenter, but they ask them, can you show me a document? They do not have that. So this is what the project is providing, because we have another set of the trainees who are already out there in the job market. They are working, doing business informally, but they have nothing to show for their qualification. We, of course, academically, papers matter.
Yes.
It doesn't matter so much how well you can do it, much as you can demonstrate. So we call it reskilling. So we're inviting them back to get into these training centers for a period of 3 months, get trained, then they get certified, and then of course they get now prepared more on how to interact better, because some of them are already in the job market. So most of them, especially those that are like Kipto, who've been able to set up their own businesses, employ many more people, are a great motivation, because they tell a different story with their lives, including having graduated from the vocational training center. Some that are deep in the rural areas do not even have access to electricity, but because of their commitment, dedication, they still emerge as victors, and like you put it, they are now employers, and so contributing to our GDP in their small way. Yeah, so they give us that kind of feedback, and interaction with them gives us a lot of encouragement and motivation to keep doing the same. It's even much bigger when you find young men like him going for courses that are ordinarily perceived to be for women. And the same is the case for the ladies. And most of them are taking up the challenge. You know, this is something that we can learn by observation, by doing. And so it is not a reserve for only men. And a good number of them are doing very well. We had a story from Kisumu, YMCA, where there's a lady who has actually now set up her garage here in Nairobi, having trained as a mechanic from that particular institution. And she has become one of the industry players who is now providing even attachment for her alumni, and linking them with other garages that she's already linked to. Yeah, so those kind of stories also help to change perceptions of our society about different gender and about different courses or qualifications that add a lot of value into our economy.
Yeah. Now, Eddie, you really are looking at ensuring that you amp that number in as far as women are concerned. Why exactly women?
Thank you, Gladys. Maybe I'll start it from what Stephen and Boston has mentioned. See, as a country, we have this big elephant in the room, unemployment. And for us to move away from this, then initiatives like what it's doing already needs to be supported. To grow the cake bigger, he's already employing one person. That is very positive. So if we can find a way of supporting him to make his company grow through additional training, getting supports in terms of financing, from Youth Enterprise Development Fund and such kind of organizations, then he will be able to grow, create more employment opportunities for the youth. And that is why E4D is really, really supporting such kind of interventions. We know that for startups like him, it's very difficult for them to move from the stage where they are to where we can say that they're now bankable. They can get loans from commercial banks. So opportunities like youth employment, youth enterprise fund can become handy for him, so that your business can be upscaled a little bit. So with this, then we believe that we're in the right direction. We are moving in the right direction as a country. It's not all in the dark, because we know the government is also working through the Ministry of Industrialization, MTVET, to support such kind of startups. So we will continue working with them and linking them to such kind of opportunities for financing. Back to your question on how we work with women. I mentioned that we are getting funding from different partners, and from the German Development Corporation perspective and COICA, we have a very, very strong gender mainstreaming policy. So this means that in all our interventions, we must get at least 30% women getting into all the interventions, be it enterprise development, be it vocational education and training. So it is in our heart. One of the challenges that we've gotten is actually the stereotyping that Stephen talked about. It is challenging to bring women into technical occupations, especially for welding, for example, instrumentation control. So we've tried it. We are, as E4D, we are in the right track. And from the past data that we have, we are almost 35% women into this kind of interventions. How do we do it? Yes, we've done it through making deliberate efforts, like affirmative actions to support women. Like what we are doing with Koreans now, Koika, we have a target to support at least 70% women get into these technical occupations. So there's been a lot of stereotypes, gender stereotyping around it, but we've made the progress in terms of using successful women in these STEM courses. We bring them, talk to the youths, and support a lot in mobilizations. We also using established organizations like Kenya Association of Manufacturers through their Women in Manufacturing program to bring a lot of women, bring a lot of sensitization in the public, just to encourage women to take up these courses. We're also doing serious community sensitization forums. We all know that in some communities in Kenya, women are not allowed to dress in coveralls, in long trousers. And this is a requirement in technical skills. You have to be dressed in appropriate PPEs. You have to be in coveralls to climb up those masts when you are doing installations up there. So this is a challenge, but we are actively pursuing means like community sensitization, talking with religious groups, so that we can break away from that and actually let our women take up their roles in such kind of things. It's worth mentioning that we got some positive comments, just on a light note, from the industries, that when a woman is trained and he acquires the skills, the performance of women is much way above that of men. They work with the machines cautiously, so breakdowns are down. At the end of the day, the employers get to benefit. You see, so such kind of things and sharing the lessons learned is what we are doing as E4D to bring women into jobs. And for quite a long time, there's also been this stereotype from the industry, the potential employer's perspective, that women can actually not take up these technical courses. So we are working very closely with umbrella bodies like CAM and others to break away from these stereotypes. And this, we believe, will actually allow our women to take up these courses. We are making a very brave call for women to get out of their comfort zone and actually contribute towards economic development. It's a good example. The course that he did was historically viewed to be for female.
Female dominated.
It's a good example. Next time when you call us for the interviews, we'll come with some women to share some nice stories.
Looking forward. All
yes,
right.
Thank you.
So gentlemen, even as we understand this and bring this conversation to a close, I'd like to also understand it from an employer's point of view. Stephen, definitely connecting now the trainees to their potential employers is where now the challenge is. How have you been able to do this, and what is the impact of ensuring that you have this exact match of the trainee and the employer?
Yeah, I think thanks for that question, which is very relevant, because it's also one area where there's still a bit of struggle. A struggle because the industries are sometimes a bit skeptical of the kind of quality they will receive. So what we've done currently is, in the same spirit of partnership that we have with GIZ and other partners like Koika, like Eddie has mentioned, we are co-designing some of these projects, so that at the beginning, where we conceive our project, we engage some of the potential industries, because some of these vocational centers have existed before our projects. So some of them are connected to some industries that they already where certain students already got placements. So we invite them also to give us feedback on what their experiences are, just like what Eddie has mentioned. That gives us together with the training centers, the opportunity to know which areas to improve on so that we also satisfy the job market. When that happens, then we also get more references from some of these industries, and that basically widens our network of the industry players. The other way is, like we said, we use different mediums for advertising for our courses. In Kisumu, for example, we use even the local radio stations. Radio Namlolwe, Ramogi. We have some of the trainees like him sit in some of those morning or evening radio shows talking about their experiences, what they did. And that also adds up as part of that awareness raising, that the industries also get interested. We have an experience with one of the training centers in Kisumu where Naivas went and took up a whole class of the catering, a whole catering class. And they are now part of the catering team at Naivas, the one just towards Ogingodinga Street, you know. And that was because there was a function, and then this class of students were the caterers. And then the manager from Naivas said, immediately after the function, went straight to the center manager and said, I need to have a conversation with you. We are setting up something, and I think we need this number. And based on my experience with the meals and you know, the setup and the service, when is this class, you know, completing their course? A whole class of about 15 were taken, and they're now fully employed. We are told last month one of them left and has now set up her own bakery. So, you know, from training experience at Naivas, now a bakery, and potentially we'll also be able to employ. So, you know, when people listen to that Naivas story, definitely they would also want to go to such a center to be able to get that quality of students. And of course, we also have referrals, you know, from other organizations that we work with, who would also tell us we have this kind of company or organization that can also take some of the trainees that you have.
All right, so let's hear from Kipto even as we close. Your fortunes clearly have changed. You're a business owner, you are employing somebody. What would you like to encourage others, perhaps, who find themselves stomaching for a while like you did, and yet there is now this opportunity that can change their fortunes?
To a youth there who is going to pursue beautypreneurship, I tell him or her that finance is not the only stumbling block, but that is the turning point. You have to be consistent. Yeah.
Okay, and beyond consistency, because of course you have to keep your business afloat, what have you learned about that too?
Managing. Yeah.
What about it?
Managing is a bit tricky, but I have gone through it. Yeah.
And you have the right skill sets to ensure you keep it thriving.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So Edwin, bring us to a close. We're talking about the importance of upskilling our youth. And definitely it goes beyond just what Kipto has done. There are many others out there who are hungry for these kind of opportunities. What can we look forward to from this E4D project?
Thank you, Gladys. Just to answer your question, I would want to mention something on the fact that vocational training for a long time it has been the role of government, but I want to mention here that it is such a big complex thing that it cannot be left to the government alone. So up to now, a lot of development cooperation partners have contributed towards the vocational training. We make this call to the private sector companies. The government can't provide all the training institutions with equipment to do this training. So we, as much as possible, would want to invite the private companies, contribute, partner with these institutions, because at the end of the day, it is you, the private companies, who need the skills from the training institutions. It helps in two ways. As you may have realized, so many companies are setting their in-house trainings. This is costly for the companies because they have to hire staff to conduct those trainings. It's costly in the sense of buying equipment. Why then can't we partner with the TVET institutions? They can come bring the trainees to your institution to get that hands-on skills that later on can lead them to getting jobs in your institution. Then secondly, it also takes a lot of time to retrain somebody, because from the private sector perspective, there's that skills mismatch. So what is coming from the training institutions is really not what they want. So they take further additional time and resources retraining these new employees. So if we could join hands with the training institutions to support them so that we can get this right from the source, then we will try to avoid those challenges from the private sector perspective. So in terms of your question on what we expect as E4D, we are still going to work in Kenya with our development cooperation partners, the training institutions, the government, just to make sure that the youths are actually brought to jobs. Their employability is improved and actually they can get the jobs from the companies or start their SMEs like he has done. So we are still here until I think the second phase is, of E4D is running until 2023, but we are going to extend it for additional phase. And we are looking at training additionally. From where we started up to now, we have 40,000 people trained. And out of the 40,000 people, 13,000 of them have been brought into decent jobs. We are expecting to train additional about 28,000 until 2023. And out of this, we also expect additional decent jobs, like 16,000 of them. We will continue working closely with the government. As I mentioned, we are supporting, complementing the government initiatives in competency-based education and training. Currently, there is, through Kenya National Qualifications Authority, they developed a recognition of prior learning tool. This means that those who are in the market, if you go to Gikomba right now, you'll find them making very nice stuff, but they don't have qualifications. Taking that person to school again to retrain him for additional 1 year is a challenge. Yeah. So through this recognition of prior learning, this kind of beneficiaries, people can actually get certification through the government laid down procedures. So I think as E4D, we are here to stay. We are very much grateful to our partners because they really help us achieve and helping the Kenyan youth get jobs. And for this, I strongly mention the partnership we have with Koika as I finish. They are the strongest, one of the strongest partners we have now in vocational skills training, and we wish and hope that this will continue and support the youths in the future. Thank you.
All right, Eddie Olo, Technical Advisor, GIZ and E4D, Stephen Cadeno, Executive Director, Pamoja for Transformation, and Kipto Cheriot Bonson, who is a saloon business owner. Thank you all for joining us today. And of course, I'm sure a lot of the youth have walked away with credible and important information in how they can actually change their fortune. So all the best, Kipto. Thank you. We appreciate you and we cheer you on. Well, that's it for us here on Your World. My name is Gladys Gashanja. Tomorrow I'll be back here and we'll be talking about something that is perhaps top of mind during this season. We're talking about money and the holidays. Remember, it's been a tricky one since last year, since the pandemic hit us. We're going into another holiday season within a pandemic. Only have 10 days between that time the schools close and when they open again in January. So how can you ensure you stretch that shilling to cater for your family during the festivities, ensure you pay that school fees on time, and ensure you survive January, which normally has 60 days? Well, we'll be engaging a financial coach on the same, so make sure you join us tomorrow morning from 7 a.m. See you then.